So in today's video, I am going to talk about how you can use the poor solubility of the API to your advantage during method development. Generally, we talk about how one can improve the solubility because we need to understand the extraction and stuff like that. But in present video, I will make you aware that how the poor solubility of the APIs can be a advantage to you during method development. So in current time that when you talk about the method development for mutagenic impurities or the nitrosamine impurities, what are the important challenges that you need to face? It can be about enhancing the response because as the limit of these impurities are very low, obviously you are going to have a very minimum response, and that's the reason so we need to adopt the high-end techniques like LCMS or the GCMS. But even with those techniques, your response remains poor. The second important challenge the scientist has to face is what? The interference from the sample matrix. Now, to just enhance the response, we are also going to increase the sample concentration, and out of this, your sample matrix is definitely going to interfere with the quantification of your interested compound. And the third could be the extraction, because as the sample matrix is very high, that could result into a very poor extraction. So out of these three challenges, in this video I am going to help you to solve one challenge, that is minimizing the sample matrix. Yes, and I am going to connect this with the poor solubility of your API. So how one can minimize the sample matrix with the three or the four easy tricks that I am going to share in this video. The number one is, if you want to follow the step that I am going to share in this video, in the first step, you need to choose a diluent at very first time in which your API as well as impurity is well solubilized, so that you can be very sure that now the interested compounds along with API is into a solution form. The purpose of making API also soluble, because unless and until your API goes into a solution, probably your impurity will also not go into a solution. So selecting a diluent in which both the API and impurity is soluble is your first step. Now your API and impurity is into a solution form. The second step, what you can do now, you need to now select another diluent, right? Select another diluent or maybe tweak a diluent properties such a way that your API will start precipitating into the new diluent now. The purpose of using the second diluent is what? To minimize the sample matrix. As in most of the cases, API gives the more interference, the higher interference in case of your trace impurity analysis. Just in case of, let us say, analysis of nitrosamine impurities in metformin tablet. So if the maximum daily dose of metformin is, let us say, 2550 milligram, right? And if you consider the adequate response for NDMA, then you may have to go up to, let us say, 5% of the metformin sample solution. And at 5% of the metformin sample solution, you are bound to get a very high interference from the metformin. So the first step, what you must do is now, the second diluent must be such a that in which your metformin has must not have the solubility. So your API interference will go away in the second step, but make sure that in the second diluent, your interested impurity must have enough solubility. So this is the second step. The third step, once you put the diluent into it, the third important step is what? You need to verify the extraction, whether because of this precipitation that your impurities are not going back into the APIs. So just to reconfirm that the impurities still remain in a solution, though API gets precipitated. Now, because of this step, precipitation, you are drastically going to minimize the interference from the sample matrix, and this will really works very well in case of HPLC as well as LCMS analysis. And I'm going to explain you with the help of my experience. Would you like to listen the experience that I gone through? So here is an example, and this is the practical case study, and I have used this. Our team has used this technique to come out of the one of the challenge during mesalamine method development. So if you look at the mesalamine API, you will find aniline is an impurity which is a mutagenic impurity and has a limit of 5 ppm. While developing a method for aniline in mesalamine tablet, our biggest challenge was, you know what? It is not the response of aniline, but it was the interference coming from the mesalamine peak. Because at that level, the selected concentration was too high, and because of that, the mesalamine peak was too broad. And I do not remember the exact peak width, but it could be in the range of, let us say, 4 minutes to 6 minutes. That was too big peak, and though there was a good amount of resolution between mesalamine and aniline at this smaller level, right? But if the mesalamine peaks become so big, this 5 minutes time window between elution of mesalamine and alanine just was not sufficient, and hence we decided to take the advantage of the mesalamine's solubility properties. We knew that if you could able to reduce the response of mesalamine, if you could suppress the concentration of mesalamine, the peak width of the mesalamine is going to get reduced. And the moment the peak width get reduced, then we will have a bigger time window for the better resolution between aniline and and the mesalamine. So what we did is, now if you look at the mesalamine solubility, it is highly soluble into the acidic pH, right? And aniline is also very much soluble into the acidic pH. So we prepared our sample, the half of the diluent that we added into the preparation process of the sample was what? The hydrochloric acid solution, maybe zero point 0.1 normal hydrochloric acid. So in that case, our mesalamine was well solubilized, the aniline was well solubilized, and now we are confirmed that okay, now the entire aniline has got extracted out of the mesalamine. Then we have added the half of the another alkaline reagent like zero point 0.1 normal sodium hydroxide, or maybe higher strength of the sodium hydroxide, so that the acid got neutralized, right, at some point. And then because of the additional strength of the sodium hydroxide, the pH of the solution started turning towards the alkaline side. And the moment the pH jumps at the alkaline side, whatever mesalamine which was got solubilized in the acidic pH diluent now started precipitating out of the solution. And at some point, the entire mesalamine got precipitated at the end of the addition of the second diluent. So we made up the flask to the up to the mark, and the solution now was ready. So in this process, what happened now? So whatever mesalamine which was available into the solution now has come out of the solution. So if you filter it probably, and if you inject it, you are going to get very thin and small response for the mesalamine. So the peak width which was earlier for 4 to 6 minutes has become in the seconds, right? And so there was a good amount of separation you can observe between this now thin mesalamine peak and the aniline peak. So this is the way you can use the poor solubility of the API to your advantage during the method development. And it is not only limited to the API solubility. You can also think about the some the interfering excipients during your method development. If they are really having the complex effect interference, you can understand in what diluent these excipients can be precipitated out. So tweak around your process of sample preparation, and I'm sure that you will be able to come out of the challenge. You can use this technique even for the nitrosoamine impurities as well, because where you will face a lot of interference from the matrix. I hope you must have uh, got a good idea on to managing and handling the sample matrix during the trace level impurity analysis. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will meet you soon with another such kind of informative and useful video. Till then, take care and bye bye. See you soon.